I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnn. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
This episode is brought to you by Walmart. New beauty is in bloom at Walmart, and it's all about springtime radiance. From Drybar, Tula Skincare, and hundreds more available online, Walmart has the premium brands you want and this season's on-trend products for flawless, glossy hair and hydrated skin. Big name beauty brands? Check. The things you love? Check. Find trending spring beauty and all you need to look and feel gorgeous at Walmart, on app and online.
Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I'm the founder of the Food Truck Training Group on Facebook, co-owner with my beautiful wife, Melissa, of our own food truck. It's called Food Truck 101, and I'm the executive director of the National Street Food Vendors Association, which is a nonprofit dedicated to education, advocacy, and uplifting all food vendors. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that doesn't get discussed very much, and that's called trademark squatting. And what that means is you start a business and you're semi-successful with it, but you don't file a trademark. And then someone else notices that, hey, they're successful. Looks like they're getting ready to expand. I will file a trademark and then turn around and sue them for using my trademark. So you existed first, but somebody else has come in and bought your name. And now they're going to sue you in hopes of getting a bunch of money from you one way or another. And we see this happens actually fairly frequently. And it happens to big companies as well as small companies. Apple, for example, when they went into China, one of the names of their products was already trademarked in China, and effectively it was trademarked by a squatter that had no desire to use that name, but recognized that at some point Apple's going to expand into China, so they trademarked one of Apple's products' names, and Apple decided that it was in their best interest to go ahead and pay several $1 million to buy the rights to the name from the person that all they did was file some paperwork in China and had the rights to use the name of the product that Apple was already using. Now, if that sounds kind of shady, you're right, it is. But it does happen. I had somebody that I've worked with in the past call me up, and he had gotten a cease and desist letter. A company was using his exact name. Now, their logos were completely different. There was no visual similarity at all. I don't even think they use the same colors. But the words, the name of the business, were exact. And he's been using that since 2022. But this person, for whatever reason, filed in 2024. So there's a 2-year gap. Now, is he a trademark squatter? Probably not, because he seems to be a chef who's trying to establish himself as a business. And he's got a little bit of a following in the same state as the person that I worked with. But he's also got a little bit of a following in a completely different state. They live in 2 different parts of the state, and it is a huge state. Many millions of people live there, so it's very, very unlikely that there would be any kind of confusion because they both work within a small pocket of population in 2 different parts of the state. Because of the internet, people can search the business name and see, oh, well, that's the same one. They got a location in this city and they got a location in that city. But if they actually look at the logo, they go, well, those aren't the same businesses. But people aren't that bright. And that's where trademarks come in. The government knows that people aren't that bright to actually look and see if the 2 different businesses are separate and different. So the government says you can protect your logo, you can protect a trademark, meaning the name of your business. And then if somebody uses it, you can tell them to cease and desist. And if they don't cease and desist, you can sue them and get them to stop legally. And of course, anytime you involve attorneys, it costs a whole bunch of money and nobody actually wins. But the person who owns a trademark feels like they've accomplished something. So in this particular case, he does have a doing business as. What a doing business as is a piece of paperwork. It's filed at the state level, and it shows that he had this name well in advance of the person who filed the federal trademark. Now, is that going to help him? Probably not, because federal laws trump state laws. But he can have a good argument of, I had this name first in our state, so you might want to just leave me alone. I'll let you vend in your part of the world, and I'll vend in mine, and we'll not interfere with each other. Sadly, the name implies what their menus are, so that gives them another similarity. But as I told him, the name of the cuisine being in the name of the business is also a limiter, because now you're pigeonholed into being just that cuisine. Now, yes, you can do limited time onlys, but why would you trademark that? That also means that the government trademarked a cuisine that they probably shouldn't have trademarked. Probably a way to get out of it. And then the second part of the name includes a very generic term. That's why two people landed on it. The other person that actually did a search, and I did the same search when my friend told me that I have a cease and desist order, so I did the same search. The name difference from a trademark name and what this gentleman trademarked has the word the in it, T-H-E, the, or the, depending upon what part of the world you're from. So he adds the. So it's like, why would you add that unless you already knew there's an existing name out there? It's the same thing when people will have to put original when somebody copies their name and they haven't trademarked the name. And we see that a lot in food service. So when you put the in front of it, okay, you're saying that I'm a little bit different than this other one. So yes, there is a trademark that just has the cuisine and then the generic word. So this guy just puts the cuisine generic word. And of course it gets trademarked. Now the first one, the one that's just the cuisine and a generic word, is actually a dead trademark. And what that means is they have not kept up all of the paperwork and everything they need to do to keep that trademark in force. Now the logical thing would have been just to buy that from somebody, because since they're not keeping it in force, that means they're probably not doing business. And then you could buy that and already have a trademark on it. But it's easier to do to set up that point of differentiation, because the government will gladly collect those fees and then let the court sort it out later on which one's actually the official cuisine generic name. So this is going to end up being a mess. So what I want to talk to you guys today is just very quickly how you can help yourself not to get in this kind of situation. First thing you want to do is do the homework. Go to the Patent Office website. They have a search tool that will let you look up logos by name and then also logos by description, and then look up business names. And you'd be surprised how many names are already trademarked out there that basically no one uses. Probably because they're squatting on them, hoping at some point some business will use this name and now we can send out that cease and desist letter and get millions of dollars. So do your homework. If you plan on being a business and you plan on growing beyond your little local community, you want to have a trademark. And yes, it does cost money. That's a part of doing business, but you got to protect yourself legally. You want to document your use. At the moment that you say, this will be our name, you want to file a doing business as, because that's a very quick piece of paperwork. And it usually has a very, very low fee. And you want to continue on to do all the other legal paperwork you need to do, getting the trademark and all of that. But the very first thing is to get that doing business as, so that you are secure and you have that official government paper trail that shows that I had this name before anybody else. Now, my friend that I was talking about, he started with a doing business as in 2022. The trademark that was filed in 2024. So he has 2 years worth of use in his state showing that I had this name first. Now, is it going to help? I hope so. It should at least make the other person realize that, I didn't do enough homework. My attorney didn't do enough homework to find out that there's an existing name that has filed paperwork in my same state. Because I'm sure the one person that has the trademark is going to say the other person stole the name, which they didn't. They can prove they didn't. But they're still going to take the attorney who's going to take them to court to make them stop using it. Now, here's where we may have to get involved with social media. And then it ends up being a no-win situation for everybody. So you have the name of the business being dragged through the court system. Now, both of these people are just small-time operators. No one's really going to care about the name. Obviously, the person that spent money to trademark it thinks they're going to grow into something, but they're probably not going to because they didn't do the research to begin with. Had they done the research, they would have said, oh, there's somebody else with this name. Maybe we should change ours. But they didn't. Or if they did do it, they ignored the piece of paperwork with the doing business as and chose to use the same name anyway. So it ends up becoming a trial that's held mostly in social media. Because it'll be pretty simple as far as the legal system goes. They have the paperwork, they have the trademark, they're going to win. But are they really going to win? Because just as soon as I get out of court, I would be down there on my social media. Look what this person did. I started this in 2022, and I have all kinds of events with my name, my logo. Look at me being successful, and this copycat decided that my name was so valuable he should steal it. That doesn't end well for anybody. Because you'll have the two groups of customers that are patronizing both businesses basically being polarized and say, mine's the best. And then the other one's going to say, mine's the best. No one wins in this situation. So after you document your use, you document that I have this name first, and you want to consult that trademark attorney. There are services now that charge you very little to do the basics to get the thing filed. That's why there's so many people filing it now, because it's a lot more inexpensive than it used to be. You can get it filed, whatever the filing fees are, and I don't know, they're rather expensive, but the attorney part used to be the real expensive thing. Now there's services that do it because it's all automated, so there's not actually a human being touching anything. So they charge you $79, $99, and then whatever the filing fees are for the federal government. Do it. Then plan for the future, because once you file the paperwork and you have it, then you must enforce it. That's when you get the attorney to send out those cease and desist letters to people that are copying your name or people that have infringed on your actual visual logo. You've got to enforce it. You may remember a music artist named Prince, one of my favorite musicians. He was very, very successful in enforcing the copyright on his music. He kept his music off of YouTube for years because he wanted to be the one to make money on his music, not other people getting views from his music being played on a YouTube channel. Now, since he passed away, you can find his music pretty much everywhere. But he had the copyright on the music. He had the publishing rights for the music. He was the one that's supposed to be getting paid. When people use your logo, you got to protect it. Otherwise, everyone will use it, and then no one benefits from it being used. Now, what do you do if we're on the other side of that coin and you haven't trademarked it, and you're like my friend who gets this cease and desist letter randomly out of the blue? First thing you want to do is stay calm and then review the claim. Is your name exactly like theirs? Is your logo similar enough that people will go, hey, that's the same thing? Certainly words match. If they have a 3-word name and yours is the exact same 3 words, well, you got a problem. But you do want to stay calm. Then you want to contact a trademark attorney and see what they have to say. Before you go have that discussion with the trademark attorney, gather your evidence. When did you start your business? Can you show on social media when you started and when you started using those names? Do you have the paperwork? Hopefully you filed at least an LLC under that name or a doing business as with that name in your state. That shows that you had the name before, and hopefully before the other person did. But remember, you got to have that paperwork trail. And the more paperwork you have, especially legal paperwork, again, doing business as an LLC with the same name, that helps strengthen your case to the point where it shows they didn't do the research. Now, they filed a trademark, but they didn't do the research. So a judge might chastise them for not having done the research and then not chastise you as much. Now, you'll probably end up still having to change the name slightly. And then you also can make the case that, hey, doofus, you should have done the research better. How about you pay me for my name? Because, again, you can always bring it out on social media. If you do find that their name is so similar to yours, you can add things like the or original or other things that differentiate the full name from one business to the next. And don't be afraid to use those and point out that, hey, I had this first, I'm going to put original on it since you copied me. And then I would be talking about that on social media all the time. Avoid the copycat. Go with the original. You can always negotiate, and you can always coexist. Especially you can coexist when they're in a different state than you are, because it's super unlikely that anybody that has a food truck is going to grow nationwide. The odds are just against it right now. And that's not to be negative. That's because most food truck people are undercapitalized. There's only a couple of food truck companies that would be considered nationwide. There's a few more regional ones, and there's certainly a few more statewide ones. But if you're in a different state than somebody else, y'all can coexist until they get big enough and then they can just come buy you out. Plan your next steps. Talk to that attorney and then plan what you're going to do next. But don't lose any sleep over it, because they're the ones that did wrong. They should have done better research if you had your name first. So the research would have to go on Google. It would have to go on the state paperwork as far as however they categorize LLCs and doing business as paperwork. It can be found. And of course, there's social media. They could do all the research probably within a half hour, 45 minutes, if they took a break in between. So when someone says they did the research and they don't find my name, you didn't do the research. So if you ever find yourself in this situation, do not wait. Call that attorney, gather your documentation, and then consider all your options. Protecting your brand is very important. And really, you need to file your own trademark. It's a little bit of money, yes, but it's also a very strong peace of mind. And if you do grow and get that second and third and fourth truck, got to have that name trademark. Because once you grow, somebody else is going to say, ooh, they're growing. I think I will file the trademark on their name and I'll own it, and then they can pay me. Thank you guys so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding everything useful that we do, please consider subscribing. And if you really love what we do, show some support. There's a link in the description to make that happen. Until next time, you guys have a profitable week.